I gained 3 pounds in 3 days by overindulging a little bit at back-to-back holiday parties. I did hit the panic button for a minute, but I was quickly able to reset myself, and I wanted to share with you my best practices for enjoying the holidays and still finding balance and staying true to your health and wellness while we are all tempted to cheat during the holiday season. If you are new or returning back to my channel, welcome. My name is JoAnna Pallante. I am a mom with a passion for holistic living. As a 42-year-old toddler mom, my metabolism definitely is not working in my favor anymore. And I am a total gym fanatic, but when it comes to my diet, it could be better. I have a lot of discipline when it comes to making meals at home and picking up things that are healthy and cooking, and I truly love to cook. So I'm gonna share some of my favorite recipes with you later in this video, but if you put something really tempting in front of me, my willpower is just not really all there. So for me, it's all about finding balance, and that's exactly what I wanted to share with you. The holidays really start with Thanksgiving, right? So between Thanksgiving, Christmas parties, then Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, if that's what you celebrate, that's what I happen to celebrate, followed by New Year's and a little bit of vacationing. It is really challenging to stay on your A game. So there's all these social events and people are putting really good foods in front of you. There's family traditions. There's just so many things that are just so tempting this time of year. And while we all know that our diet is supposed to be centered around protein and fiber, when somebody puts a good slice of pizza or some really delicious catered food or just free food in front of you, it can be really hard to have willpower in those moments, especially when it comes to the desserts this time of year. So before I go any further into how I reset myself, I just want to start out by saying indulging during the holidays is totally okay. For me, it looks something like I went to my work holiday party and there was all this catered food just coming out nonstop. The next day, I woke up and made pancakes for my toddler. I have a great pancake recipe that I'll share with you later, followed by a party where there was this amazing Italian caterer, just pasta and pizza being served on these little platters. It was too tempting to not just have a slice of this one and then try the other one. And then the next day, oh boy, that's normally where I would reset myself. It was Sunday and I like to start the week clean, but a friend invited me over to watch football and they had it catered by this place called Matu. I don't know if you've been to Matu or heard or seen any of the videos, but they have 2 locations in LA. Honestly, I'm not a big Philly cheesesteak person, but this is probably the best Philly cheesesteak I've ever had in my life. So there was no way I was passing on that. Then I went to another party that night and it was catered by Italy. So more pizza and pasta. And that was how I got to my 3-pound weight gain in 3 days. Oh yeah, and I forgot to mention the holiday souffle at the Beverly Hills Hotel Polo Lounge. That was really good as well. So what it comes down to for me personally is consistency over time, right? So those 3 days might not have been my best or healthiest days when it comes to my diet, but overall, day after day, I do things that are very grounding and healthy for me. And that is just far more important than beating up on yourself for having a couple of overindulgent days over the holidays or whenever you're celebrating, traveling, whatever the case may be. And for me, the goal is to not only feel good about how I look, but also really be happy with what's going on within, because I do lab testing and I'm constantly tracking my metrics within my health. And I know that eating, some of these not so great foods and, having a diet that's high in sugar, it just leads to other consequences down the road for me. So it's something that I try to minimize. So as far as getting back onto my routine, let me take you through some of the steps that I did to shake off those 3 pounds. As quickly as I gained them, I was able to lose them, and I want to share with you the way I went about that. As somebody who weighs myself every day, I use a scale called the V-Sync. I think that it's extremely helpful. It tracks your numbers over time. It shows you your body fat as a percentage, your visceral fat, all these different levels. And I use it in the most healthy way imaginable because I don't beat myself up if I gain that weight that we're talking about here. I just use it as kind of a reset for myself. So I know I like to stay within a certain range. For me, I think between 119 pounds to 123 pounds is kind of my healthy, feel good, sweet spot. And, when I gained those 3 pounds, the scale went up to 126. So for me, that's like hitting the panic button. It's like, okay, JoAnna, you got to take a step back. You have to be more disciplined. And this is the exact program that I followed after those 3 days of indulging. So for breakfast, I like to start off with eggs. I just think eggs are a superfood all around, and I really enjoy eating eggs. I feel like I've perfected my egg recipe at this point. My husband would even agree. So I take 3 scrambled eggs. I particularly like the Erewhon organic eggs. And I think that, you might need to test out different brands and, there's all these different types of eggs, pasture raised and this and that and cage free. So I've found these eggs that I really like. They come out nice and fluffy. And what I do is with those 3 eggs, I add 1/4 of a cup of cottage cheese. I like this one brand of cottage cheese called Good Culture. It must be really good because it tends to sell out. So whenever I see it in the store or online, I stock up on my Good Culture cottage cheese. Now, I was never a cottage cheese girly. Like, I don't know, just kind of grossed me out. And I didn't really get what the whole cottage cheese craze was. I see all these TikTok videos and people are, making all these things and boosting their protein with cottage cheese. Well, I jumped on the bandwagon after perfecting these eggs. So the egg is going to just be, for me, I like to scramble them. So I'm just gonna, mix up my eggs the way you would normally scramble your eggs. And then I put the cottage cheese in, and then I go on my stovetop with a cast iron pan. I find that the eggs cook really well. I happen to use the Le Creuset brand. And then what I do is I use a little grass-fed butter, not too much butter. The heat should be like medium to low heat. You don't want the pan too hot. And then I pour my eggs, I scramble them up. I just kind of lightly, turn them around with the spatula, and they come out really nice and fluffy. Then I'll do maybe a little sprinkle of some ground pepper just to give it a flavor boost. And that's it. It's so simple. Honestly, the worst part about the eggs is cleaning the pan after. It literally drives me nuts. But other than that, I would make these eggs every single day. The 3 eggs makes me feel really, really full. And you're getting about 6 grams of protein with each egg, plus the cottage cheese, which is going to boost you with another 7 grams of protein. So you're already just crushing your protein goal by starting your morning out like this. Another thing I love within the egg and cottage cheese world are, those little Starbucks egg bites that you buy. I used to love them and I would buy them at Starbucks. I've learned how to make them at home. I will link my recipe below. I promise you they're super easy. And these are really great because you can boost them with a little bit of vegetables or whatever else you want to add, maybe some cheese for some flavor. But these will stay really nice throughout the day. You could put them in your fridge. You could even freeze them. And now you've got a high protein snack to keep you going whenever you're on the go. So as I continue my day of just resetting my body and getting things back in order after the indulgence weekend, what I'm going to gravitate towards next for lunch is going to be, maybe if I'm at home, I might whip up some ground turkey, another super simple, easy recipe for me. You get a little bit of olive oil. I like this Mary's ground turkey, super high in protein, very lean. I just cut up some onion, saute the onion a little bit, and then I mix in the turkey, some salt, pepper. So easy. My husband likes this because I will use the ground turkey to make him tacos. I try to stay off of the carbs at this point. So I might go for a lettuce wrap, and I really like this Yellow Bird hot sauce. It gives it some nice flavors. So then you can do that. You can add some avocado and you've got yourself a full and complete meal for lunch. Again, super easy and high in protein. I do also really like to snack throughout the day. And when I snack, I try to just keep healthy stuff in my apartment at this point so that I don't reach for the chocolate chip cookie, which I normally would do if I haven't come off of a super, indulgent weekend. But in this case, we're trying to keep the diet as clean as possible. So my snacks might be something like dried fruit, which is high in fiber. I really like just keeping like some dried figs or things like that in the apartment. I also will make some smoothies at home so I can customize my smoothie. I think when you go out other places, you can look at the nutrition labels on some of these smoothies. They might be like 900 calorie smoothies. So if I'm making them at home, at least I can keep the ingredients a little bit cleaner and make sure that I'm not, overloading on too many sugars and fruits that are high in sugar, peanut butter and things like that. You can really add up the calories pretty quickly there. So when I make my smoothie at home, I'm pretty mindful of the ingredients. If I'm trying to stay, in the calorie deficit or just somewhere in a safe zone where I'm not going to be racking up calories and sugar when I'm trying to lose weight at this point. A great dinner for me when I'm in this sort of cleanse mode would be a nice filet. So I do really like filet for a steak choice. I happen to go to Italy. I live next door, which is great for me, but you can, go anywhere and get a high quality steak. My friend was telling me that she orders from Snake River Farms right to her door. I guess they have good pricing if you order directly from them. And that's literally the same steak that I'm probably paying a lot more money for at Italy. But you could keep these in your freezer and just have them on hand for when you are ready to make a high protein meal at home. So the steak is going to be the same thing prepared in my Le Creuset. So I use this for everything. This is just like a go-to household staple. Maybe if you see some kind of sale on the holidays, I think Bloomingdale's runs promotions on them. Definitely an investment piece for your kitchen, and they look pretty nice on the stovetop as well. What I love about this is you can start to cook the steak on the stovetop, and I will do a video at some point where I take you through my exact process of making steak, because this is another one of those things that I've really perfected over time, and you save a lot of money making this at home and not paying top dollar for it in a restaurant. So I will just season up my steak with a little bit of olive oil. I like a good extra virgin olive oil. I put some garlic, a little bit of rosemary. I'll do some salt and pepper, and then I will cook that on the stovetop, depending on how thick the cut is, maybe like a minute on each side. And then I put it in the oven, and then I check the temperature throughout. I like to cook my steak more like on the medium side of things. I swear by having a meat thermometer. So I use my meat thermometer, and I'm usually going to pull the steak out around like 140 degrees. That's just a matter of preference, but the meat thermometer is everything. That's just going to save you no matter what kind of meat you are prepping at home. For a side to go with this, I genuinely love sweet potatoes, and I love spinach. So spinach is going to help you out, get your fiber back and get your iron count. So spinach is another go-to, especially when I'm trying to be as healthy as possible. I love to eat spinach. So this is something that I feel like I should really work into my diet every day, honestly. But when I am trying to feel full and really have a good meal that I'm going to enjoy, steak, sweet potato, spinach cannot go wrong. Some of my other little hacks when I am trying to de-bloat, and I recently shared this with a friend who also called me and said, hey, I just, overindulged while I was home for Thanksgiving. How can I lose 5 pounds in a week? And I said, well, I don't know if you can do 5 in a week, but here are some of the things that I really like for de-bloat. So one are these little pills. They're by this brand from a company called Array. They're all natural ingredients. I find that these really do work. So if I've had a really heavy meal, I like to take 2 of these before I go to bed at night or after that meal. I think even if you have them maybe before the meal, it will help you out. So that is one of my go-tos. I also really like apple cider vinegar shots from a brand called Core, K-O-R. So these shots I like to take on an empty stomach in the morning or before a big meal. They're supposed to help balance your blood sugar. The taste is okay. They're not great. They're not horrible, but they get the job done. So the Core apple cider vinegar shots will also really help you out, just day to day, or if you are trying to be in cleanse mode. And then lastly, at night, I used to be a big red wine drinker. I've recently gotten into teas. So I think any teas that are going to help you with your digestion, I really like peppermint tea, even ginger tea. So whatever your tea of choice may be, I think tea maybe like an hour and a half before bed will help you with digestion. And it's just kind of comforting to have that nice tea, or maybe even a hot water with lemon before you go to bed. From a workout perspective, the workouts are always a non-negotiable for me. I pretty much work out 7 days a week. I try to get it in however I can. I am a big fan of strength training. But when I've gone, a little bit too far in the wrong direction with my diet, then it's time for me to step up my training game. I use my Apple Watch to hold me accountable. I always try to burn at least 300 active calories in an hour. So that's the goal. If I really feel like I need a bit more than that, then I might set the goal up to 400. It might take me a little bit longer. It might involve a little bit more cardio. But I think the Apple Watch is really great for keeping you on track. The other thing that I do love is to use a personal trainer or sign myself up for some kind of group fitness class, because the accountability for me is just everything. When my trainer goes out of town or when I don't have a session booked, I tend to, maybe oversleep or do a shorter workout or get distracted or talk to a friend in the gym. It's just a non-negotiable for me to have a trainer on the schedule at least a couple of times a week, because the difference for me is like night and day. If I'm paying for a session, I am not skipping a session. So when I'm in reset mode, training is absolutely essential. The past 2 years in January, I've actually used a cleanse called Chroma. I don't even know if cleanse is really the right word. It's more of a reset. And what I really love about Chroma is it's not one of those juice cleanses where you're starving, and it's not one of those like unrealistic things. Chroma is basically a 5-day program that if you follow, if you really, really, really abide by their sort of blueprint, you will lose 5 pounds in 5 days. Not only will you lose 5 pounds in 5 days, but you will also reset your gut and feel your energy levels go through the roof. So in my past experiences with Chroma, day one, not so hard. They have these little food packets, and the first one will be a porridge, which I really actually liked. Then it's, maybe a green juice, maybe a smoothie mix. They have broths. The broths have protein. They're all boosted with superfoods. So you're eating throughout the day so that you I wouldn't say feel full, but you're getting nutrition throughout the day. And day one, I was like, okay, this is, pretty easy, whatever, I'm going to stick with the program. Day two, I started, I think, having some withdrawals. And that's when my energy level dropped a little bit. I'm a big coffee drinker. I reduced my caffeine as part of the Chroma program. And by day two, I started to feel a little bit of fatigue. But it was well worth it because by day three, my energy levels were through the roof. And that's how I knew that this was really working, because I could see a difference. The bloat in my stomach had gone down, my abs were coming back, and I was just feeling energy on a completely different level. Like, I didn't even realize that I hadn't had coffee by the third day. And I was like, wow, it's 1 o'clock and all I've had is the Chroma matcha. This is great. So I stuck with that program for 5 days, 2 years in a row, both times in January. They'll usually run a little sale. I like to get these things when they're on sale. You can save a little bit of money. So maybe sign up for Chroma and just keep an eye out for when they run their next promotion. So all of these are just some of the ways that I personally reset throughout the year. I find them to be really helpful. And I know a lot of people struggle with this and they're constantly feeling the pressure and the societal pressure of everyone's on these peptides and Ozempic and this and that, and the culture and the pressure to just be fit all the time, and you're watching people constantly be out to dinner and doing all these things. I mean, it kind of blows my mind too, but I think that at the end of the day, if you have this sort of blueprint and metric that you can go back to after you've had a couple of days where you enjoy with your family and you partake in traditions and just go for that piece of cake, it's totally okay, as long as you know how to really reset yourself, which is something that I've gotten really good at doing over the years. And I remember after my pregnancy, just really, really struggling. I had to lose 50 pounds postpartum. It took me 8 months to do it. And that was when I enacted some of the biggest changes I've ever done in my life as far as my diet and lifestyle go. It meant, cutting out high sugary things, alcohol, the margaritas that I used to enjoy. They just didn't become enjoyable to me anymore, because in my mind, I knew how much sugar was in them and they were really stopping my progress. So whatever your situation may be, I hope that you have some takeaways from this video and that you are maybe just inspired in some way to change your diet and, start some of the little things that I've suggested, like the de-bloat pills, or just swapping one meal that's not so healthy, like a bagel, which was something I absolutely loved in pregnancy, and, switching that out for something else that you enjoy, like the egg bites or the egg scramble. That's just a really great starting place. If this video helped you at all, I'd love to get a thumbs up from you or hear from you in the comments. Let me know what your favorite holiday traditions are, how you balance them out, what maybe helped you get back in order. I also really like to hear about what videos you want to see in the future, so feel free to drop me. My new website, intheknowjo.com, has just been released. I share some helpful fitness and health tips on my blog there, so make sure to check that out. If you want more health, wellness, motherhood, and lifestyle, make sure to subscribe. I hope that whatever your holiday traditions may be, you enjoy them guilt-free. Go for the cookies, go for the cinnamon rolls, whatever grandma is cooking up in the kitchen. Make sure to enjoy those moments and cherish them as you should, and we will reset together in 2026. And by the way, I just want to give a shout out to Puppies Make Me Happy. They made this really cool Merry Christmas, You Filthy Animal with my dog Sunny on it. We've got some other cool creations. Great gift idea for any of the dog lovers in your life.